Well, hello. Wonky Wheels 103, out for my weekly ride. I like to get a ride in at least once a week. This is my normal sort of run. I like to get in at least one ride a week. So I'm out today. And today I thought I'd do a bit of a review on what I've done to my T7, because I'm on my T7 today. There she is. So I thought after 2 years of ownership of the T7, I thought I'd just go through some of my modifications and what I think of the bike so far. I understand there's heaps of reviews out now about the T7, we all know that. But it's just about what I found about the bike and what I've done to it, I suppose. So yeah, stay tuned. If you're someone who's new and just bought a T7, hopefully I can provide some information that may be helpful. Yeah, like I said, just quickly about the maintenance and any sort of issues, mechanical issues with the bike over those 2 years. I'm happy to say I've had zero incidents with the bike, as in mechanical problems. So that's zero. I've changed the oil myself. I had the first service done by Yamaha, which I think was 1,000 Ks. And then after I do my own servicing, so oil change, oil filter, much of what they do nothing more than that. So I've done that every 5,000 Ks. That's for me, that's what I like to do. Just to ensure the oil's nice and fresh. I've had no trouble with the bike whatsoever mechanically, and it's worked fine. I've really enjoyed the motorcycle in general. So that's about it. I can't really report anything else other than that. The only thing I also have changed is the spark plugs. I changed them over at, I think it was just shy of 10,000 Ks. I put in the iridium spark plugs. And I'll tell you right now, it is a nightmare to get to those spark plugs. Alrighty, so oil changing, I've put the spark plugs in them, which they do recommend putting in those type of spark plugs, which I spoke about, the iridium spark plugs. I found no difference in the bike's behaviour, swapping over the spark plugs. And the original spark plugs after 10,000 Ks were brand new. So if you're all there thinking you have to change the spark plugs at 10,000 Ks, well, I don't think you do. The spark plugs, like I said, they look brand new to me. But they do say replace them with those other plugs, the iridium plugs. They'll last the bike a long time. So yeah, that's about it for that. Mechanically wise, it's been really good. Nothing's fallen off the bike. It's all stayed together. Yeah, no problems whatsoever for me for nearly 14,000 Ks. Alright, so in those 2 years I've put on 14,000 Ks. I don't think that's too bad, especially if COVID-19's been around, and here where I live we've had bushfires and we've had flooding. Alrighty, so some of the modifications I've done, alright, so this has been done over a certain period of time. I just didn't do it all at once. The first thing I do recommend that you do when you do get your T7, now depending on your riding, if you're not taking it off-road, or you're just going to take it on a big fire road, so to speak, dirt road, is that the bash plates. The bash plates that come with the T7 are very thin. Won't take much to ding them and damage the plate itself, and also then could damage underneath your motor or your frame or something like that. Okay, so I bought the bash plate for it, B&B bash plate. Took that off. That weighed that's 3 kilos of weight I've added to the bike. Again, remember my whole idea was to have the bike as light as possible. So I added that on there. Alright, so I did put that on there, and also what I put on was these hand guards. These are Bark Buster hand guards. They are the Storm type, which gives you a bit of bigger, as you can see, deflection of wind. Absolutely fantastic. Enjoy those. They're really good. So they're the two things that I did put on it. Crash bars. As you can see, I've got the lower type crash bars down the bottom. They're from Alt Rider, ALT Rider. What did that weigh? I forget what that weighed. I'm going to weigh that in. I think it was close to 2 kilos. Might have been close to 2 kilos. Yeah. Alrighty, so yeah, I've got that lower crash bar on. So that's it for me for protection. The biggest thing that I've done to the bike, after around about 2,500 Ks, I decided then to do the suspension work. Alright, now I'm not a professional, seek advice from a suspension tuner and an expert. Okay, I'm just giving you my 5 cents worth from my knowledge of riding bikes over 30 years, doing my own work, speaking to professionals and all sorts of stuff. Okay, just short guys, okay, the suspensions from the Tenere, everyone talks about soft and that type of stuff. The fact is that it's softly sprung and it's softly valved, okay. Now that still may be okay for the most riders who, like I said before, may ride on your dirt roads or on your sort of asphalt type roads, okay? For 2,500 Ks, I didn't find the bike too bad either, all right? But you do not have to ride the bike that hard to find the limits of the suspension, okay? And what I mean by that, bottoming out, that type of stuff, all right? The reason is, guys, the suspension is softly sprung and valved, right? So that means for the weight of the bike, it does not have heavy enough springs, all right? And that's a fact. Now, there's a rule of thumb specifications you can do which talks about the bike sag and the rider sag, all right? And it's a percentage of that. Now, the bike sag, so that's the bike that it sags under its own weight on the spring, okay, is roughly around about 10% of the travel, all right? So we've got 210 mil at the front and we've got basically 200 mil at the back. So roughly just say 20 mil, 21 mil at the front and 20 mil at the back. That's how much the suspension should sag under the own bike weight itself, all right? But the bike doesn't. When we done the test up at the suspension from MotoBiz, the bike sagged something like 45 mils under its own weight. Okay, now you've got to remember the bike's only got total travel of 200, 10 at the front and 200 at the back. So you're already using 45 mil, roughly about 40 to 45 mil of travel, the bike under its own weight. All right, and then there's a percentage of rider sag, which I think is 33% of the total travel. And again, these are just rough figures, guys, going off the top of my head. So that's around about 66 mils of suspension, how much it should sag. That's with the rider sitting on the bike. 66 mils. All right? So we just say 60 mils, so easy enough for me to work out. Then it allows basically 140 mils of travel. All right? So that's not really all much, is it, when you think about it? All right? That's what you should be looking at. Now, the bike doesn't do that under its current spring rating. All right, it sags way too much. So basically what it can do, if you're a heavy chap, I'm 72 kilos, probably with all my gear on more like 78 kilos. Yeah, I'm a lightweight. So even for me, the bike was sagging, rider sag was sagging way too much, okay? So that's the difference. That's the sort of rule of thumb that you go to, and then you work out when you're putting the correct spring rate to the rider. That's what they do. Race teams, everyone does the same type of thing. That's the sort of factors they take into consideration, okay? And it comes down the type of riding you do, where you're riding the bike, and so forth. All right. Now, if you're carrying more gear, you're carrying back, all these panniers and all sorts of stuff, or even a pillion, you also have to take that in consideration as well. So you've got to try to get a spring that's really, it's not perfect for both worlds, but it's a compromise. All right. So for me, and I'm only a light ass, so if you're watching this video, and most likely you are heavier than me, okay. So if you're 90, 100 kilos. A chap that I have been riding before, he's 130 kilos, 6'7", I think, and 100, okay, and yeah, 130 kilos. Okay, he rode the bike for a month under the standard suspension, and he couldn't ride the bike, basically because it had no suspension travel. As soon as he sat on the bike, it was almost bottoming out. Okay, so for my weight, I actually when I got the spring changed for the rear shock, it went to, now I think the standard rear spring is about a 6.5. Newton meter, or 60.9, okay, Newton meter spring, all right. All right, so now it's got 80, all right, so it's got an 80 Newton meter spring in it, alrighty. So you can see it's a fair jump from my skinny weight, and the front springs, we'll talk about that in a minute, all right. So you can see why you need to look at the springs for that bike for you, all right. The valving itself, the valving wasn't too bad, I found on the Tenere. You can have the dials and adjustments there that has rebound and compression, okay. But if you want a more sort of valving that holds the stroke up a lot better, you need to get the bike revalved as well. All right, and if you're getting the springs redone, you might as well get it revalved. It's not all that expensive, in my opinion. Okay, so for the rear shock, what did I get for the rear shock? I got that I stayed with the rear shock. All right, I didn't change it, but I got it revalved. All right, so the valving now is it's night and day compared to the standard valving that comes with the Tenere. So the valving's now a lot more adjustability when you turn the compression and the rebound, okay, and it actually soaks up the bumps a lot better, resists the bottoming out a lot better as well, and how it controls that in the rebound as well. Night and day, fantastic. And like I said, I've got the heavier spring in it now as well, so it's 80 Newton meter spring, okay. Beautiful, love it. Now the front forks, what I decided to do with the front forks is that I decided to go with the Rally Raid inserts. Mine are the open cartridge Rally Raid inserts. You can get closed cartridge, which are dearer again. I went for the open cartridge, mainly because I can then do my own work to the forks, change the oil in the fork seals and that type of stuff. All right. You can go on the Rally Raid site. They've got all the information about what they are and all the specs and that type of stuff. For me, here, sent here in Australia, all up, that's postage, including postage, it was about $1,100. So they're not cheap, but they're not the dearest option either. Okay. So in the end, I've got the open cartridge forks. So what they do, guys, with the internal cartridges, basically with the standard ones, they just get ripped out. Alright, so these forks are no longer standard. Just the outside are the standard ones with the Yamaha. Okay, the internals now are brand new. So what you got now, I don't know if you can see that, you've got the compression on the left side and you've got the rebound on the right side. And then you do your adjustability with that as well. Alright, it does not have preload. It does have compression and rebound. Alright. What do I think of the Rally Raid cartridges? Again, over the standard ones, night and day. But in general, beautiful. I cannot knock those, knock the forks, the cartridges. They're absolutely fantastic. It gives you a nice sort of a compliant feel, in my view. Nice soft and soft sort of feeling as well. But then can take up the bigger hits big time. The front forks actually outperform the rear shock just a little bit. And so they should, you know what I mean? Rally Raid do sell the rear shock. You can buy a rear shock, but you know, you're looking at about $1,800 for that. And I didn't want to spend that money. For what the bike's really used for, I don't use it for doing big jumps. I don't get caught up with what's his name, Pole Torres, doing all that sort of stuff. I'm not talented as that guy, and 6'7", whatever height he is as well. So that's what I've done. Suspension. All right. So rear shock, revalved, resprung. Front forks. The cartridge forks are from Rally Raid products. Now this is for their cartridge forks. They come with a 60 Newton-meter spring. Or I think it's a 6 kilogram, whatever, spring, whatever you got. Anyway, it's the same sort of number, okay? But I think it's a 60 Newton-meter spring that comes with it in the front fork. For my weight, which apparently for this bike setup, that's acceptable for someone about 75 to 85, I think it was. So that's why I went for that front spring. You can actually even get a soft spring for it, all right? But if you don't want to do that, what I do recommend is get your bike resprung for your weight, okay, and then just get it revalved. I do recommend that. And I think you'll find most people would be happy with that. Like I said, I didn't go that way. I'm happy with what I've got and enjoying what I've got at the moment. I can then ride this bike pretty hard for my ability and jump it a little bit and all sorts of stuff, and it handles it no worries at all. Night and day compared to the standard suspension. So the springs do one thing, it's different to the valving. The springs basically hold the bike up. You know, the valving controls how fast it goes to the stroke and all sorts of stuff. All right, so there are two different things we're looking at. So if you don't want to spend much money, just get it resprung. You will find the big difference in the bike itself. All right. All right, so that's what I've done with the front forks and the rear shock. Absolutely love it. What else have I done? I have gone for the full D-Cat exhaust system through it. Alright, so the headers are now a D-Cat, and I've got the Camel exhaust, or high linkage exhaust on the back of it. Alright, my my header pipe is from Dominator. I can't knock the product. It's a $300 header. For me, I didn't want to spend too much money on it, and looking at other manufacturers who are named wise, so they might be a well-named product provider out there. They wanted like $800, $600, $700. I did a bit of research and review on these headers, and they've all come out really good. And I can't knock the quality, build quality, fantastic. So if you're looking at a D-Cat header, have a look at Dominator. I'm not paid for this. I think it's a discount, so I paid for everything full cost. So it's $300 here in Australia. And they do come with the sensor, the CO2 sensor, which I liked about it. So that all still hooks up. And like I said before, mine's the Camel High Link exhaust part as well. I bought this, it's a 2020 model, the T7. I bought this Camel link and exhaust system off them when it first came out. They do sell, at the time, they did sell a different muffler, which I still got, that's at home. I didn't really like the muffler, or I didn't dislike it, but it's not the one I would buy if I was going to buy one myself. They had that muffler, it came with the package, you couldn't change it. They have changed what they do now. You can just buy the linkage part here now, the connector linkage, if you want to, and then you can put your own muffler on. Okay, that's one option they do have, but at the time they didn't have that option. I recently just bought this muffler I hope you can see that okay. That's the type of muffler design that I like. Okay, the back part here, that's what I like. That's just a Chinese one. Quality is fantastic. That was $85. I think postage, it might have been 95 actually with postage. But 85 bucks. You can't knock that, can you? So, and I've also got the baffle in it as well. I run with the baffle in it. Now I can honestly say, hand on heart, I have found just slightly a little bit increase in power. Alright, and I'm not just making that and feeling now because there's a different sound. That's how it feels. It feels now there's just a little bit more get up and go. I really could say that. Alright, with that fuel system on it. I have not got it remapped as yet, or reflashed as they say. It's not backfiring. It's not showing me signs that it's running really lean at the moment. But a little bit down the track, I may get it remapped. Alright, because what hopefully the remapping will do, which I hope it does, is get rid of the snatchiness. I've done the adjustments. I know all about the adjustments and throttle adjustments and cable adjustments. Okay, it's still snappiness. So it's got a very snatchy throttle. And most of you now, you know what you're talking about if you've got one. You mostly notice it when you're on the road. When you're backing off a little bit, slowing down to a corner, and then you open the throttle up a bit. That first part of it's bloody, you know, it's not good. I wish they improved that, but it wouldn't stop me from buying another T7. So yeah, again, might get it re-flashed, but that's more money, but we'll wait and see. There are YouTube guys where, so I know I'm not thinking it's got more power because it sounds a bit different now. It's not in my head. There's a chap who actually decatted his exhaust. Same thing, and now I forget what it was called. Redback? Was it Redback? Something red? Some exhaust like that. Funnel Web? Was it Funnel Web? Anyway, I think they come from England, the exhaust that he put on his. He actually got it dynoed with his standard exhaust versus the new Decat exhaust. And there was around about 4.5 horses gain. Alright, so there you go. Alright, so there is a little bit of a gain you can get by putting a full Decat exhaust system on. Now remember, it does make it louder. Alright, so that's why I still run the baffle in mine. Alright, so I do run the baffle in it. So it's still loud enough now that people can hear me coming, which is good. But when I'm sitting on 100 and 110, it's not, you know, making that much noise. It drives you batty. Alright. So yeah, so I've got the Decat exhaust. Now, the big weight saving in that, the header itself, I weighed the standard header when I took it off. It was 3 kilos in weight. That's with the cat because it has the catalytic converter in it. 3 kilos. It's bloody heavy, isn't it? The standard, the Dominator header was 1 kilos. So that's 2 kilos gone. Okay. The rear muffler at the time itself, the muffler itself, I think that weighed in at 4.5 kilos. She's a bloody heavy bugger. And then at the time, that's with the whole system with the Camel one on it, which is a different muffler at the time. I think it was about 2.5 kilos. So I think it was about 2 kilos savings. All right, that muffler itself, the muffler itself, is actually a little bit lighter, 0.5 grams. I think 5 of a gram. Hang on, I got that wrong. 0.5 of a kilo, so lighter than the other muffler. So a little bit of weight saving there as well. All right, so that's what I've done so far. Put the radiator guard on it, on the front there. The mesh, I cut that off and put that on there myself. It's done a great job. I've only recently put the little tidy tail on it. I've done that myself. Sorry, that's a BB product. Reason why I changed it because the original one started getting really flappy around, floppy. So it's starting to. So I decided to get this one here. Only thing with these tidy tails, just be aware if you are thinking of getting one. Don't be afraid if it's a little bit longer. All right, a little bit longer is better. Because what happens is a lot of mud and shit does fly back over onto your back, onto the seat. It does happen. Alright, that's the only problem with the tidy tail that I have found. Another big thing that I've done to the bike as well, which is the rims, the wheels, are no longer standard. They're Hahn wheels. Okay. Just better quality rims, XL rims, stronger spokes, alloy hubs. So they're just better quality, stronger wheels altogether. The wheel size and rim size is a standard size, whatever they are with Yamaha. That wasn't changed. The rear rim is changed on this one. I've actually got a 2.5 inch rim. The standard rim is actually 4 inch. Right. So the 2.5 inch, firstly, stronger because it's narrower, a lot stronger, and also it allows you to run a 140 tyre. All right. Now the 140 tyre is a lot better for off-road riding. Gets more grip, digs in, gives you more grip, and so forth and so on. All right. So that's why. The tyres also, I can run, I've actually got a 130 on this at the moment, because that's all what they had. So it allows you to run those tyres, and also the price in tyres is almost half the price as well. So if I keep the bike long enough, because I've had these wheels on it for a while now, eventually the wheels will pay for themselves just by the difference in price of the tyres. And that rear tyre for that was $120. You know what I mean? The tyres with the 4-inch rim one that I was buying were like $250, $260. You know, so there's a big difference in cost. Now, I know you can run a 140 tyre. People, do run a 140 tyre on the 4-inch rim that come with the T7. I used to do that as well. I had 2 incidents with it. What's happening to me. One when I got a flat tyre, and the tyre basically, which happens without no sort of rim lock as well. But what happens with the 140 tyre when you put it on a 4-inch rim, guys? It's not made for it. So the bead itself is not designed. It doesn't open up enough. Okay. It's just not wide enough. And what happens when you get a flat tyre? The tyre comes off the bead basically straight away in a flash, and I mean completely off. All right. So that tyre completely comes off, and I was actually on the rim. That's how bad it is. All right. So I rang up, it was a Motos. I rang them up about asking them, you know, naturally they've got to protect themselves and what they say, but he said, no, mate, the 4-inch rim, 140 tyre, is not designed for a 4-inch rim. And it's not. To sell the bike, I will not sell it with these wheels on it. I'll put the standard wheels back on, and I'll sell the wheels separate and get some of my money back. All right. Very quickly, yep, I got the headlight protector. You can see it's just sort of like double-sided type Velcro type tape. Holds that on, nice and light. I've got the smaller mirrors on just to keep out of the way of any bush or anything like that, and I like those sort of smaller mirrors. Don't like the big bloody elephant ears mirrors on them you can get. They're not too bad. I see enough behind me. So that's about it, guys. I got the different Camel foot pegs. The only reason I got those foot pegs is because they gave us a voucher when we were waiting for our link pipe, because there was a delay, and they gave us a voucher. So in the end, they only cost me $20. Okay, they gave me $20. I made my own little sort of foot peg sort of razor there, little extension, so I can reach with my foot. I made that myself. I think that's about it. I don't know how long I've gone on for, but hopefully you got a little bit about that. It's about suspension, what you should be looking at in regards to your suspension. I weighed this bike now, fully fueled. Alright, so fully fueled, it weighed in at 210 kilos. How it sits right now. 210 kilos, fully fueled. Alright. So, yeah, it's just a fair bit of weight. I know they call these a mid-size adventure bike. For me, I don't like that term, mid-size. It's not a mid-size. I know they might be going off the engine, you know, because it's 700cc. But for me, I go off the weight for me to mid-size. This is not a mid-size to me. Mid-size is like my KTM 690, your DR 650s, all those sort of bikes. They're mid-size to me. The Tenere is basically it's just a heavy adventure bike. If you want to use the word adventure, I mean, any bike can use as an adventure bike. So I think these are more sort of your heavyweight type of bike, not your mid-size weight bike. All right. I'm hopefully going to do a bit of a review, a bit of a talk about this. My brother's got a DR 400 again, and he's going to start doing a few things to that, adventurize that as well. And there's another chap who's got his 701 as well. And I'm going to try to all have them all together, have a bit of a talk about them all. Okay. So, yeah, the different weight and all sorts of stuff. Now, for me, I'm 72 kilos. I can pick this bike up myself. I've picked it up a few times already by dropping it wherever I've been. And I pick it up okay. I know I've read on a lot of forums where some blokes who are bigger than me can't pick it up. I don't understand. But anyway, they can't pick it up for whatever reasons. I'm only a little fella. All I do recommend, if you're a general person out there, general bloke or even female, male, doesn't matter, okay, do a little bit of strength training. Doesn't take much. You know, do a bit of strength training, get a bit of your aerobic fitness up as well. You'll benefit that out riding. You'll feel stronger and fitter and be able to ride a lot safer because you're more with it and not getting tired as quickly. All right, bit of strength training. You know, you don't have to start lifting weights or sort of stuff. Just light sort of heavy weights. Sorry, you don't have to lift heavy weights. Just light type of weights, resisted type exercises to get you a bit of strength. Okay, now if you're an old fella like me, once you start getting over 50, guys and girls, you start losing your muscle mass, all right? And you start losing it. So you've got to actually exercise to keep the muscle mass up. So that's why we get weaker as we get older, all right? Just a little tip from Uncle Shane, all right? So, yeah, do a bit of exercise. Get off the couch. What's my biggest bugbear about the bike? You don't really notice it too much. So only when it's more slow going, yeah, is the top weight. Okay, remember, they've got a big lumpy motor down there, so that takes a lot of the weight away from the top end, okay? But this bike, to me, when it gets down to about 5 5 litres of fuel left in the tank. Oh, I love it. You can feel the difference, okay? At the moment, it's pretty full, all right, so you do have a lot more weight up the top, all right? So what I'll try to do now, if it works, I'll try to put an image in place which shows you the Tenere and the New World Raid together and the height of the seats, the tank height. So that's the only bugbear with Tenere. I think it's a bad design, personally, the tank design. And how they've done it. It could have been a lot lower, in my opinion. There's lots of room behind this fairing here where they could have actually moulded that into the tank as well. Imagine if that was there. Imagine if that was the tank height. It'd be fantastic. Okay, but anyway, it's not. Yeah, so if you look at the seat height and if you go through this line here, how high that tank is above the seat. That's the only thing which I think could be improved on the bike itself. All right, that's my 5 cents worth there. Alrighty, if you have any questions, give us a yell. I think I've got everything. I don't know how long I'm going on for, but anyway. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to head out. I'm going to show you where I ride. Gives you a bit of an idea where I ride. All right. That's the sound of the bike. Now remember, this is under. It's not under load, so it gets a little bit deeper sound when it's under load. That sounds good, doesn't it? In my opinion. Rightio. Doesn't matter where we go, humans, we're always got to leave our mark, don't we? It's either rubbish. Someone's painted the cock and balls there, as you can see. The yellow there. Good on you. Well done. Hope you're very proud of yourself. So I'm not sure this is picking this up, but very rocky here, like a bit of a rock garden. But the T7 motor, it's just so torquey. It's just beautiful motor. I can go at drop this thing down, almost crawling, and around about 2,000 RPM in 4th gear, and then still roll away. That's how good the motor is. So this is the sort of terrain that I ride the bike in. Make sure we've got that off-road mode. I can't see a lot of the rocks and that with the shadows. I hate it when it's like that because I absolutely, as just general enjoyment, riding a motorcycle, pure enjoyment. For me, the Tenere, I just love it. How I've got it set up, absolutely love it. Steep downhill. We all know the camera makes this look probably flat. And oh yeah, there we go. Alright, so thanks for watching, and we'll catch up next time. Be good. Woo! Right, and you can see that in the camera picking that up. Basically a little rock garden. Taking it nice and easy. what I found about riding the bigger bike and that is that just keeping that speed up a bit helps a lot. Rightio. When it's like this as well, I like to ride in a taller gear, and the T7 is ideal for this. She'll just keep tracking along. I'm in third gear at the moment, and might have to go down the second at the moment. No, but this is where the T7 is so good with that motor. She just tractors along. Tractors really nicely. I've never seen it so bad through here. Yeah, so the camera's probably showing it's nice and smooth. It was only about 12 degrees. What is it now? 16 is it saying? Yeah, 16. The only time I found when I have dropped the T7 is when I've lost that momentum, you know, and if you can't quite get your foot down and you go over on the side a little bit, well, the weight takes over and over you go. If you're taller, you can stop that because naturally you've got longer legs and stop that from happening, but that's where the weight of the bike comes into it. And that's where I've dropped the bike in most occasions, like that. So lost the speed, and lost my balance, so to speak, and didn't have long enough legs. Where if you're on that lighter bike, you stop yourself from falling over or hold the bike up. A 200 kilo bike, you just got to let it go, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. Get your leg caught under it. Gee, it is just rocky. Rocky. Right, where are we going? We are going a slight uphill. More than slight, but oh, look at that. Yeah, nice and rocky. Holy dooly. Come on, old girl, up you go. Don't want to go off the side there, do we? Pick me line. That's about it. Oh, yeah, baby. Alrighty, that's Wonky Wheels 103. We'll catch up next time. See you later.